One-Arm's host in that time was perhaps the finest army the Malazan Empire had yet to produce, even given the decimation of the bridge burners at the Siege of Pale. Drawn from disparate regiments that included companies from 7 cities, Falar, and Malaz Island, these 10,000 soldiers were, by roll, 4,912 women, the remaining men, 1,267 under the recorded age of 25 years, 721 over the age of 35 years, the remaining in between. Remarkable indeed. More so when one considers this. Among its soldiers could be found veterans of the Wiccan Wars, C. Coltane's Rebellion, and the Arran Uprising on both sides, and Black Dog Forest and Mott Wood. How does one measure such an army? By their deeds. And that which awaited them in the Panian Domain would make of One-Arm's host a legend carved in stone.
What up, and welcome back to another Malazan Book of the Fallen video. This time my lights are red because we're covering Memories of Ice chapter 13, and it's a chapter with some love. Let's get into it. This is actually a short one, and there's not that much spoiler stuff, but I will let the newbies know when to get out of here because there are just a couple of spoiler points that I want to bring up at the very end. But we're halfway done. We've made some really good progress, and I'm excited to get into book 3 and 4 and finish off Memories of Ice, and we pick up in 13 to close out with the campaign with the host, the army that's moving towards Kapustan, and we jump first into the Mybee's dream. She's having more just like terrifying dreams where she's, you know, better, right? But then she wakes up and she's not better, and it's just really starting to take its toll, this estrangement between Silver Fox and the Mybe, because there's all this obvious bad blood since she's consuming her mom and all that, and that's taking its toll on Silver Fox as well, and she's maturing quickly, and she's, I think the Mybe says something about how, you know, Tattersail's appetites or something like that, and it's just, you know, wreaking havoc on both of them. And now Tattersail's growing a lot. I think she's like a late teenager, but probably, I don't know, based on physical description, it sounds more like early 20s, because she's described as more like sultry and curvy and walking like in a seductive way and stuff like that. So growing up quick.
They do grow up fast.
But actually she's kind of had a little bit of a shift, right? Because earlier she was like basically suicidal, right? And now with all of these dreams, she's of the mind that like things, you know, when you die, it's not just that everything goes black or shuts off or there's like oblivion. It's even worse than that. And so now she really doesn't want to die and is all super scared to death and just super jacked up and traumatized. We also see just how bad this infection of the Warrens is, right? And how it's really screwing with the logistical side of this army, right? Because that was the whole thing with Krupp coming in and kind of, you know, negotiating, brokering that deal between the Trigel Trade Guild and the host to be able to deliver all the supplies that were coming in from Darujistan, and this infection is just like making it so hard for them to make that journey, and they're losing all kinds of shareholders along the way. People are dying, the carriages are getting like super jacked and effed up, right? So yeah, it's just having such widespread consequence across every aspect. Their magical practitioners, their supply chain, all of it. And tensions are running so high, we even see Dujek One Arm making fat jokes on Krupp and really getting under his skin.
Cancel it!
But Whiskey Jack falls back and actually tries to, like, you know, buck up Silver Fox and like, hey, buck up Buckaroo, and they have a little heart-to-heart, and they're both kind of feeling the pressures of command, and she, you know, says, oh, I got to do all this mean stuff and be like kind of, you know, cold iron or whatever, and it's like kind of dehumanizing to have to, you know, do all this stuff, and how Whiskey Jack knows how she feels. They talk more about the Trigale Trade Guild when it shows up, because they're straight up legit covered in the blood of an elder god and like demon limbs hanging off everything, just straight up nuts. Whoa. But then we get this Calor scene, and there's a lot of really cool backstory, because we find out that there's this group of mages that essentially called down the Crippled God because they were trying to take out Calor. And so in a lot of ways, the reason why we're here, and you know, the whole, you know, infections of the Warrens and all the Chain God stuff is precipitated by people actually trying to weaponize some foreign alien god against Calor.
Wow.
He knows that Krull is back in the game and looking for him. He knows that Nightchill, or at least some fragment of Nightchill, is out there and potentially after him as well. And then Gethel shows up, right? The Herald of Chains, and he's basically there to recruit Calor into this new house, the House of Chains, and Calor's like, dude, I don't serve, like, I'm not the type of dude who's gonna show up and be kissing your god's ring and doing all that stuff. And Gethel's like, no, you don't have to do that. He's like, that's not a part of the deal that our you know, God makes. He likes people competing and going for it and whatever, and so you know, you can just take it. And so he accepts the job basically, and one of the conditions is that he's gonna help the Crippled God figure out what's going on with Moonspawn, with Animander Rake, so that he can like kind of do risk mitigation there for one of his biggest obstacles. And Calor agrees to do that in return for the Chain One giving him an opportunity to 86 Silver Fox.
You're dead. You are dead.
Then we get this whole dialogue between Whiskey Jack and Corlat, and they're talking a lot about the previous campaigns, like in Black Dog and Montwood and all of that, and the kind of mutual respect, I think, that the armies, you know, fought each other with. They're like killing each other and fighting, and I think I've mentioned this in other videos and stuff, but they really talk about how they, you know, fought with dignity, right? And that they respected these boundaries, and that Whiskey Jack was always touched, and he would find these folks, and they weren't, you know, the dead Tistan D, and they weren't materialistic and just doing it for loot and gold, and like the only stuff they had on them were like these stones and just little like mementos. Like they're really like a heartfelt wallowing, I guess would be the high fist way to say it, people, and that, you know, touches something deep in Whiskey Jack, and he makes that connection to Corlat, and he talked about how even when, you know, they would die, they would honor each other's dead and respect the sacrifice that they made and bury each other and you know, show a lot of respect. And that's when Corlat is like, dude, let's straight up do this. And you know, for somebody who's been around for hundreds and hundreds of thousands of years, I think, you know, his good looks, and the Mybe was even saying how like all the chicks are thirsting just straight up over his looks, but then for him to be so emotionally intelligent or connected with his feelings, and I think that was just hook, line, and sinker. You got her.
I love you.
Obviously, you don't know me.
I love you so much.
But she's in hard, right? And she's like, this isn't just about like needing someone to come to my bed for the night or whatever. She's like, I want you specifically, and I'm all in for you, and I want to know if you're all in for me. And yeah, it was pretty dope. And then this relatively short scene ends with the Mybe like flying with this undead dragon and feeling like the exhilaration and not being in pain and whatever. She gets dropped off in front of all these gods who say like, we're with you and stuff, and she just you know, she just can't take it anymore. She's done. So yeah, that's where we're gonna leave this one. Again, that was a really quick chapter and a short conclusion to the end of book 2, but I'm really excited to get into book 3. So for all the newbies, thanks so much for watching, and until next time, happy reading. And yeah, for the veterans, I don't have a lot. I just thought it was crazy how Night Chill totally takes over and sees Kroll's blood, and that was definitely, you know, obviously Night Chill during the whole thing. And I just love the Calor scenes more and more. I'm just so interested in that history, as like Calor is the motivator for the entire Book of the Fallen series, and like everything being a consequence of you know, a reaction to Calor. And so I've been loving every Calor scene that I come across, and this chapter in particular had some really good ones. And I'd love to know what someone's interpretation of this Uller Ethel scene is, right? Where she picks up the Mybi. They say she was just passing by, and who all those other gods are that are supporting the Mybi and stuff like that. I mean, there's no way Uller Ethel cares about the Mybi, but yeah, I'd love to know what you think about that one, but excited to be done with book 2. Second half of the book coming up, so like, subscribe, buy some merch, join the Discord, come nerd out with us, and yeah, until the next one, happy reading.